Hi, everybody. We're now moving on to topic 3.2, which covers communicating in groups. This unit is designed to help you develop additional communication skills needed on a daily basis to deliver healthcare, establish policies, and act as a change agent when you're dealing in a group setting. So group dynamics can be quite challenging depending on the group, but group dynamics is much like aerobics. How much you gain depends on how much effort you put into it. If you're part of a group and you're not partaking, then the group is not as strong as it could be. We've talked about individual communication strategies in previous units, and now we're going to discuss group communication. But is there a difference really between the two? They have many of the same characteristics: acceptance, respect, understanding, similar communication strategies, and remember the power of listening, especially active listening. So effective group communication is open, power is equally shared among members, develop clear goals, flexible decision making, and controversy is often viewed as very healthy. What is a group? Well, it's two or more individuals who are connected by and within a social relationships, but there are two primary types of groups. We have a primary group, which is an informal structure and social processes. So membership in this group is automatic. It's, it can be your family or chosen religion or a group, and it's important to one's self-concept. Secondary groups are a planned association. They usually have structure. Always or usually means they have structure, leader, and a specific purpose. So these groups are planned and time limited. They're a collection of individuals who meet for a goal. Then the group disbands once they've accomplished their goal. Group dynamics, communication processes, and behaviors occurring during the life of the group can be very, very complex and are dependent upon the participants. There are a number of factors that affect group dynamics. You can have member variables. So motivation. What's the member's personal reason for belonging to the group? These reasons will affect their commitment to the group. The members who are committed to fulfill their responsibilities as group members will do better in a group, and you'll gain more. Functional similarity. In order for a group to work effectively, the group members usually have to have common intellectual, emotional, and experiential characteristics interact with each other. And previous experiences. Have they come from the same kind of background? They'll work much better. Group variables. Purpose. The reason for the group's existence. It can be therapy, support, activity, or even educational. Group norms. The behavioral rules of conduct expected of group members. This makes a group safe for all members, and everybody's abiding by the same set of rules. You have two types of group norms. Universal norms, and those are just stated standards for success. Confidentiality, attendance, trust. And then you have group-specific norms, and these are norms created by the group themselves, like, arriving on time or watching what kind of humor you use. Make sure it's appropriate. Role functions. People in the group assume given roles that influence the communication and the response with others. Usually corresponds with a status, power, and there's usually a leader. Cohesiveness. This concerns how tight the group is. This is important because people often work harder when they belong to a group and they're content in their group. And decision styles, which can be challenging because we each arrive at our own decisions a little bit differently. But how do we get a group? So the structural development of the group, there are 5 stages of group development: forming, storming, norming, preforming, and adjourning. I put a video up on Moodle, and it's about group development. It only covers 4 of the stages, but they uses excerpts from the video Remember the Titans. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's excellent. I highly recommend watching it. So there's 5 stages, and there they are. Go from a state of independence to dependence and then back to independence. So what is forming? Members come together as strangers. High dependence on a leader. The leader is often looked to for direction, orientation, expectations of behavior, and find common threads. Minimal work is accomplished during this stage, but it is imperative that the stage occurred for the group to be effective. Storming, characterized by interpersonal conflict. Everyone's jostling for power. Uncomfortable for some. Successful resolution identifies group-specific norms. This is when the gloves come off, boundaries are tested, communication styles are honed, disagreements about group format, topics for discussion, best way to achieve goals. These issues get ironed out during this stage. Norming, cohesiveness develops. Individual goals become group goals. Group standards become operational norms. The group members now feel safe. Members are held accountable and challenged when they fail to adhere to expected behaviors. It begins to feel like our group and people belong to it. Performing is when work is all accomplished. So group and member loyalty, risk-taking, constructive feedback. And then finally, adjourning. It's a final phase, so you review of accomplishment, reflecting on meaning of group work, and move on in different directions. You've accomplished your goal. So like this course, I have a scratchy throat. When we're finished, you'll move on to the next course. Role function. So each of us tend to take on a specific role in a group, and these roles can either be task role or building and maintenance roles. So task group roles. These are just a few of them. So initiating. You identify tasks or goals, defines the group problem, suggests relevant strategies, and then seeking information or opinion. Request facts from other members. Ask for others' opinions, seek suggestions. So if you're not seeking information, you may be giving information. You offer facts to members, provide useful information. Clarifying and elaborating. Interprets ideas or suggestions placed before group. Paraphrases, key ideas, defines terms, adds information. Summarizing, that's that paraphrasing. You bring it all together, you relate key ideas, offer a solution. And consensus taking. Checks to see if the group has made a conclusion. Ask group to test this possible decision. So those are task focused. Now we have group maintenance functions. And people tend to take on more than one of these at a time. So harmonizing, attempts to reconcile disagreements. That's very much what I tend to do. I don't like to see discord amongst a group. Try to get everybody working on the same page. Sorry. Gatekeeping helps keep communication channels open. Points out commonalities and remarks. Suggests appropriate approaches that permit greater sharing. Encouraging. So words of encouragement. Body language, unconditional acceptance of others, agrees with contributions of other group members, is warm and friendly, responsive. Or you can be compromising, admits mistakes, offers a concession when appropriate. If you've made a mistake, own up to it. Standard setting calls for the group to reassess or confirm implicit and explicit norms when appropriate. So these are positive group functions. However, there are negative group functions, and these functions do not help with the successful group work. You can have an aggressor, those people that criticize or blame others, attacking others, a blocker. There's always that one person who says, that idea is not going to work, and they just block all the good ideas so nothing really gets done. The joker, although can be refreshing, actually disrupts the work of the group. Avoider, there's whispers to each other, daydreams, doodles. They're not really paying attention. They're not in the game. Self-confessor uses a group to express personal views and feels unrelated to the task. And a recognition seeker, that's that person who's always trying to gain the favor and, those are my great ideas. Again, not a great way. So there are many types of groups, and it is not uncommon for each one of us to belong to more than one group. You can belong to a religious group, you can belong to your school group, obviously, EMT group, any therapy groups. The following are examples of different types of groups. So you can have your therapeutic groups in healthcare, that long-term care settings, psychiatric groups, activity groups. You can have community support groups. So these are led informally by group members rather than professionals. Educational groups used in the community and hospital settings to help clients develop self-care skills. So healthy heart groups, stroke support. You can have focused discussion groups, so personal experience with topic of interest, such as Alberta Health Services groups. They get together to discuss Alberta Health Services. And then you can have personal work groups, professional development groups. Group communication can be a challenge, but if we use GRACE, or acronym GRACE, we can make it a little easier. So guidance in gently pointing in the right direction. Respect for each person as an individual. Respect is so important. Accountable for mutual expectations of roles. So if you've got a role to fulfill, you're accountable to do that. Creative in groups. Excellence should be the hallmark of followers. I think these are probably a little easier said than done in some circumstances. So how do we promote group communication in groups? So analyze who's necessary. Who's our leader? Because you do need a leader in a group just to solidify everything. Hold the group accountable. Collectively solve problems. Just don't leave it on the shoulders of one or two members. Everybody takes a task. Each person assumes responsibility for their assigned tasks. Written agenda with approximate times. People don't have time to waste. I mean, they need to know how long this meeting is going to be. Clarify how decisions are made. Recognize hidden agendas. Use a written task report sheet. And if you ever do group work, this is a really good thing to keep everybody on task and keep them accountable. Use clarifying and supportive statements to facilitate group interaction. Get the conflict in the open. I always found men are much better at this. They get the conflict in the open. There's no hard feelings. They talk about it, then it's done. Women, we kind of tend to harbor a grudge a little bit longer. Cut off long-winded speakers by indicating when he or she stops for a breath. Don't let them talk forever. Handle latecomers. Have the materials and agenda by the door so they can just grab them when they come in. They don't disrupt too many people. Acknowledge them, but don't embarrass them. Give them a short summary of what's happened so far and talk with them later, one-on-one. Never embarrass somebody in public. Summarize all the major agreements and assignments. Take 5 minutes at the end of the group meetings to assess and evaluate what helped and what hindered. And then there's some tips for how to work or how to have communication in small groups. Seated in a horseshoe style. That way, it maximizes eye contact, but it also takes away, everybody's on equal footing. There's no leader. There's no one's higher than the other. Brief introductions always helps. Ensure understanding of group purpose. Doubling preparation can half meeting time. Make sure who's ever leading the group is well prepared. Circulate an agenda in advance of meetings so people know what topics will be discussed. If time runs out, get consensus on whether to continue. Time is precious for a lot of us. Allow no interruptions. Appoint a recorder. And leaders should not be the one doing the most talking. So these are just some things to think about when you start dealing with groups. I hope it's been helpful. On our next topic, we'll be talking with families.